Hello, Internet. This is ESC Insight calling. I'm Ewan Spence, and let's find out who's going to try and keep me under control for this news podcast.
Well, it hasn't worked for the past decade and a half. You think it's going to start now, Ewan?
Fingers crossed. Coming up, we have songs and schedules. We have Germany going all in. And we have been thrown around the Azeri stage. Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to ESC Insight's Insight News Pod, or is it the Insight Panel Pod, Insight News Pod Panel? We're not quite sure what it is. Basically, it goes like this. I'm joined by somebody who's very knowledgeable in the Eurovision Song Contest.
Oh, you mean me?
Yeah, that's you, Sam.
Who else did you have on the podcast this time around?
We're having different guest hosts all the time, and Sam is already putting herself lower than Dupont last week in the rankings because we're all Eurovision fans and we love to rank.
We do, and you know what? I love Dude. I adore Dude. Dude has been on my podcast many times. I'm envious of Dude, not for being the first person to do this panel podcast with you, but I mean, we have something in common. We've both appeared on Jeopardy, the American television show. However, she has also appeared on University Challenge and Only Connect. So I am seething with envy for Dude. Grumble.
You think that's bad? I've been on the guest panel for Moldova's Question Time.
Grumble!
Right then, as always, let's go through the numbers. It's number 69 for the Eurovision Song Contest in 2025.
Nice.
Semi-finals are on the 13th and 15th of May. The grand final is on the 17th of May. It's in the St. Jakobshalle in Basel, Switzerland, and 500,000 people have applied for tickets.
Granted, only about half of those are actually human beings.
Yeah, and about 50 to 60,000 tickets are actually available. So once we do all the maths on that, it's going to be about 6 people for one ticket representing Switzerland. And we'll leave that deep cut pun as part of your homework. But no homework now for Sam.
Oh, no.
No, because we have to have the question that proves you are knowledgeable.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I mean, it's not got a right or wrong answer. It's more a chance to let everybody settle in and let everybody who's listening get a feel for our guest host. So,
Okay.
The horribly topical question for this pod is, who's the best American at the Eurovision Song Contest, excluding yourself and excluding Katrina of the Waves?
Okay, all right, fine. Well, you took my first joke, but I'm not that self-centered. You know what? I'm gonna do a little bit of a deep cut, and I'm gonna say Tamar Krapelian, who was the representative of the Americas for Armenia as part of Genealogy in 2015. The song "Face the Shadow." She was, it was a global representation of the Armenian diaspora, and she represented the Americas. But off of the Eurovision stage, she also has done a lot of work. She created this foundation and a musical collective called NVAK, N-V-A-K, NVAK. And that was the organization that shone a light on a unknown singer by the name of Rosa Lynn, and lifted Rosa Lynn up to the heights that, and brought her to Eurovision with Snap, and supported her throughout her journey, and probably indirectly gave Eurovision one of its biggest crossover hits in recent memory. So I'm going to have to say Tamar Krapelian should be a nominee.
Now, I have to answer the question as well, because I need to constantly prove myself. And that means I thought this was going to be a deep cut, but then at the same time, I remember that you and I have had a very, very long and deep conversation with Osbin Jordan, who I'm putting down as the best American at Eurovision, because he was the dancer who threw Loren into the air in Baku as part of Euphoria. Yes, reset the counter, but it's for Osbin.
He was the greatest. He was fantastic. And it was so wonderful to have other American representation in Baku. And I think he was kind of relieved when he heard my accent. He said, hey, there's more of us. But yeah, one of the absolute unsung heroes of Lorene's win. And I think his work really helped make it the magical performance that it was. So yeah, Osmond, frankly, you and I'm slightly irked at you that you took one of my ideas, but yes.
I'm the editor. I can take all the ideas I want. It's just that when we meet in May, I will have to, I'll pay for that. Can we go to the iceberg then?
Ooh, yes, please.
So for those of you who don't know what the Eurovision iceberg is, it's basically a collection of stories, events and moments that have happened over the Eurovision season. It's collated at the end, and it's an iceberg because most of the things are under the surface and just aren't really known to the general public. So today, this week, I want to add that song from Malta to the iceberg. We briefly mentioned it last week with Dude Point, but it's getting so much PR and ice raising. Oh, that would have been, I should have just left that in. Yeah. I just want to bring this up again because I do think it's iceberg worthy at the end of the season, because I'm kind of hoping it doesn't leave Malta. And the great thing here, though, Sam, is you know that whenever I struggle with song titles in a foreign language, I just tend to get away with just doing the English translation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about the song from Mariana Conte, and it is the song called Song.
I mean, I just thought it was an ode to, Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher.
Yeah.
Coming from the United States, where the word that sounds like is a lot more offensive in American English and, probably Canadian English as well, more offensive in our version of English than it is in most dialects of UK English, and definitely more so than Australian English. Even that, it's still pushing an envelope in a way that I'm sure the EBU are both amused and bemused by. It's if it does win, if it does take it, it's going to create a lot of questions, even more than what we had with Eat Your Salad from Sidijani from Latvia a couple years ago. This is even more direct and more repeated.
It's also a really rubbish song.
People seem to love it. Like I've heard reports from a couple of like Eurovision parties and Eurovision discos that have gone on recently, and this is part of the playlist already, and people are getting into it. How is the EBU going to handle this if it goes through? Because the word that they're using, it's in Maltese.
It's a one-line pun. It doesn't stretch to 3 minutes. If it gets through, it's going on Jukebox Jury. So I don't want to go too far into it right now, but seriously, I mean, if you're looking at the lyrics, do re mi fa sol la serving song, it's really for 3 minutes? No, stay on the iceberg, stay below the surface, leave it in Malta. We're going to get letters on that one, I have a suspicion. Right, okay. Let's just wind the clock back very slightly to the weekend. It was the start, but it's not actually the start because we have Albania and Montenegro, but it's the start of a solid 8-week run of weekends which have a national selection every single weekend. We've just had the first semi-final in Lithuania, and a couple of things caught my eye, but we do have some traditions. So here are the results. Through to the finals goes Any Out, running out of time, topping the jury, topping the televote. Also through our Justa Barra de Lanate with the song Tired, second in the jury, second in the televote. Through in second place, Nine Ran. But the thing I want to pick out here is, yes, this is a show on Lithuanian television for Lithuanian viewers, but they were aware enough to know that it was going out internationally, and we had just a little bit of English at the very top.
Yeah, it's certainly helpful. I really do appreciate it when a Eurovision national final does play a little bit to the international audience that they know is going to be tuning in. Granted, the vast majority of people watching are Lithuanian local, but to make it accessible and to make it something that's very embraceable by the public internationally, it makes a big difference. I think it creates an environment where if I'm choosing between 4 national finals in the same time, and I know that one of them is going to have an English language component to it, I'm probably going to be more likely to follow that national final. Because, I mean, I don't speak any Lithuanian. I could say achoo, and I don't know if I'm sneezing or if I'm saying thank you, but that's about it. But if I know that there is a national final that's making the effort to the audience, I feel like the audience will often make the effort back. And especially in a setting like the Eurovision fandom, where fans can get rabid and fans, want that information as soon as possible, having any opportunity to create a buzz and to create momentum, and that's getting eyes onto your national final, I thought it was an unnecessary but yet very, very welcome addition to Lithuanian national television on this one. I still want to call it Panda Bomb, even though I know they've changed. I know they've changed titles, and I know that's not even the proper pronunciation of Pambandao Mesnauyo, but it'll always be Panda Bomb to me.
Let's Try Again was just a masterstroke of a broadcast title. It just has this lovely air around it of Lithuania going, Latvia have won this, Estonia have won this. And that also appreciating that, still to this day, when you're watching Melfest, you know that there's a very slight jingle and a very slight chance of the Euphoria horn turning up. Here we have, it sounds like we're going to have 6 or 7 weeks in the Lithuanian national final of lots of bumpers of LT United, we are the winners.
What?
Just a tiny subtle hint of what Lithuania's hoping to do this year. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one as we go through the news pods, but also myself and Charlene Ryan, we're going to be there in the audience for the final. So we'll be able to give you a report on the ground and see how many times we hear we are the winners. And I just wonder if LT United will show up in person to be the interval act. While there was only one show last weekend and one show this weekend for the Eurovision Song Contest community, there is an abundance of music being released. We're in the sort of peak season for songs coming out, and there's a couple of different ways that songs are being released. And I just wanted to touch very briefly on that. So Finland has come out this week, is coming out this week. Belgium has dropped some details on their songs. Greece has done them all as well. And I've picked out those three because they sort of reflect the three different ways that a national selection can do the songs. Greece is dumping everything out all in one go. Belgium has just released 30-second snippets, giving you a little bit of flavour. And Finland is doing a staggered release. It's one song per artist per day. And there's no right or wrong answer to this one. But Sam, which of those three do you prefer?
It's strange. I feel like my answer has changed over the years that I've been a Eurovision fan. I know that in my earlier days, I would have gone for the Greek method of just give me everything at once, give me all of the input, just make it all available. I can pick and I can choose. And now I'm finding myself appreciating the Finnish tactic, where every song has its place and its pomp and circumstance and its little ceremony, the fanfare music when the YouTube video drops. Each one has a day or, a whole weekend to stand on before another song comes in and steals its thunder. And it gives me time to sort of let the song sit with me. I could process it. I can discuss it until we move on to the next song. However, I also understand that there is some gamesmanship that could appear with that. That Eric Vickman, who is probably the biggest name in terms of Eurovision fandom, I believe is going to have the last song released. And are people going to say to every other song that comes up, it's like, oh, this is okay. Still waiting for Erica Vickman. Is this going to be Cicciolina 2.0? So it's interesting that it both offers a song the chance to have its own moment, and yet there's this other little thing kind of hovering behind your shoulder, like there's something coming, there's something coming, there's something coming. But if that song isn't good enough, is it going to be a letdown?
There's also a corollary to that of if you are a song that nobody's really expecting and you create a surprise, you have 24 hours to build the buzz all on your own. And I'm thinking back to Ireland. Ireland have done this sort of staggered release on the radio throughout the week for many a year now. And let's go back last year to Bampy Thug when they released what was a song that I believe at the time I said on the radio, I love this song, you should play it, you will never hear it again. Whoops. Come on, it was Ireland. Why would they send the witch? But 24 hours to build up the buzz with no other song in contention. If after that, if it had been in the middle of a drop of songs, I don't think that hashtag send the witch, hashtag burn the witch would have built up what was needed to get through and give Ireland the best result in the 21st century, bar Jedward.
It's hard to argue with that. I mean, granted, when you have lightning in a bottle and something that is so unique. I mean, I remember that because that was one of the last songs to be released too. I think a lot of us had our breath kind of taken away with Go Tobin last year from Ireland and saying, oh gosh, you know, this is the pinnacle. Like there's nothing that's going to be able to top this. And then in swept Bambi. And I don't know how they select the order in which songs are released. You know, this goes for Ireland or for Finland or any other country that does this tactic. But how much of that is random? How much of that is we think we have something special here? Let's put it at the end. What's the sawtooth when instead of a 3-hour running order, you now have a week and a half running order?
And what about the snippets? Belgium's taking that this year. And we've seen it used to great effect in previous years in Melody Festivalen, giving you just a taster of the song.
I like that. I mean, they're actually kind of doing two separate things because they're giving the snippets and then they're going to do the first 4 songs in full and then the next 4 songs in full. So they're snippeting and then they're batching and then it's still kind of going out bit by bit. I feel like part of the ceremony with Sweden is the fact that Sweden now has this established process of we get the information, we get the song and the singer, then we get the snippet, and then we get the small clip, and then we get the full song. But it's this whole process. And people understand that is how that works. Belgium, I'm not sure if they've gotten that routine and that fandom and that oomph behind it yet, especially considering that Belgium is more likely to not only switch broadcasters, but switch formats even within the same broadcaster. So I'm happy that they're trying something new and something different. This isn't Melfest.
And then all of this, there's one method left.
Just internal selection and say, this is the song, off you pop?
No, there's one more.
Oh.
This institution keeps a song underground until it is their time to flower. And I need your answer in the form of a question.
I Fiori, it's got to be, what is Sanremo?
I don't have the ding, and if we did, it's probably a copyrighted noise as well. So, ding! I also want to flag up Germany's discussion this year. ARD Programme Director Christine Strobel with basically, if we're putting all our money on winning this year, if we don't win, that's it. We have to win this year. We've got Stefan Rabin. We're collaborating with RTL. They're producing a different type of format for the national selection. You know, our goal, this is the quote, our goal is and remains victory. We are not thinking about what will happen if it does not work out. I am confident that the partnership will work. Nothing less than victory justifies such a collaboration.
My God, they are going, like, what do they have in their back pocket?
I mean, they're bluffing they've got pocket aces.
Fair.
Or they've got pocket aces, or they're just going, nope, we've got queen and a 2.
Yeah, but it's not like other countries are going to fold.
Oh, that'd be great. That would be perfect, wouldn't it? When Denmark just goes, you know what, we're not going to win this year.
Nah, save the money.
Look, I like this. I like this because it shows hunger. I like this because it goes, this is more than entertainment. This is a contest. We keep score for a reason. And, you know, Germany's probably looking at the success that the UK and Spain had over the last couple of years. It's looking at France being there or thereabouts for the last year. I mean, Barbara Pravi, you know, the only thing that stopped it was leather-clad rock gods from Italy. Otherwise, we would have been in France as much the adult contest as we would have at junior. And I think, and of course we have Italy who've hosted as well with their stage and all of that. I think Germany's just feeling left out as one of the big five. And they've went back to Stefan Raab, who had huge success when he wasn't singing at the Eurovision Song Contest. And let's face it, many of us still remember Waddy Haddy Doody Dad. So that's kind of a success. Can you think of what song came before it in the running order that year at Eurovision? Defence Rests. But it
Wait,
is.
Was it first in the running order?
I have no idea. All I remember is the song in the Gold Lamy and thinking that's what Chris Evans wants to be. A reference that may go over the head of the American. Yeah, I can't think. This is risky in a sort of public-facing way for Germany next year at Eurovision.
I mean, you wouldn't put all this stuff together if you didn't have the hunger, and if you didn't have that either an inner track and knowing that they have something incredible or multiple somethings incredible in case the jury vote or the public vote doesn't go the way they expect it to. Because they're doing 24 songs in the two semifinals or something like that. It's not a small national final that they're putting together. But again, like you were saying, Stefan Raab, Vada had to do to dust notwithstanding, like when he gets involved, they do well. I mean, between Max Mutzke, I should say, Lena 2.0, and Roman Loeb. Those are incredible results for Germany. And if Stefan Raab is the special sauce that puts it all together, then sure, why not? And when something doesn't quite work, you switch things up. And granted, they were on a good track last year. Much to my surprise, honestly. I thought Always on the Run was not going to do as well as it did. But between maybe just seeing, this is what it feels like to be on this side of the scoreboard, to remember when something lit the fire, and I want to know what that was.
I'm pretty sure the fire came from the braziers on stage, but there we go. What I find interesting is this kind of fits in with the model I have in my head of success at the song contest. You do have 2 or 3 broadcasters are always there or thereabouts. I mean, in the current climate, there's 2, maybe 3. Sweden has to be in there. Italy has to be in there.
I'd say Ukraine would probably be one to consider.
Yeah. And they're always there or thereabouts. But the majority of success for a country tends to be like one song, one moment every 7 to 10 years. I mean, Finland's a great example here. You had Lordi, which found success, and then really not much. And then you had Kadia, who found success. Sweden throwing a spanner in the works of a delightfully green neon story, but there you go. Italy has found success. You have the UK's moment of success being Sam Ryder, which also coincided with Spain's one shot in every 10 years with Chanel. And of course, they have Ukraine in there just as Finland had Sweden in there. So Germany pushing for 1 year actually kind of fits that model. I am intrigued. I am watching with a careful eye.
I mean, do they have a Salvador in their pocket that we just weren't expecting? Do they have, a Chris Kostov? Do they have a Sam Ryder? What's going on?
Soft
jazz.
Other versions of jazz are available, such as modal jazz, bebop jazz, and what is this jazz thing anyway? Can't we just listen to some rhythm and blues?
No.
Fair enough then. What we can listen to this weekend is Lithuania doing their second semi-final. Again, 2 are going to qualify and go forward to the final there. Also, on Monday, we have something very important, don't we, Sam?
Oh, I'm very excited. They are going to be revealing the host. And I'm under good authority that it won't be Hannah Waddingham, which I'm brokenhearted over because as far as I'm concerned, just give her the hosting keys to everything. My money's probably on Sven Epinay being up in there. He did a bang-up job hosting the national finals when Switzerland was doing national finals. Multilingual, very charming. But we'll see. I mean, it's Switzerland. I don't know their talent pool that well. Are they going to go for a French speaker, a German speaker, an Italian speaker, one random Romansh speaker? Who the heck knows? Could it be just a giant
4 hosts. We could have all the languages on stage.
All the languages and a giant block of Emmentaler.
And the wrong font. Right, while you're waiting for all of that to happen, we should, over the next week, have a post from Finn Ross Russell up on the website talking about the tension inherent in Eurovision. Is it a contest? Yes. Is it a television spectacular? Yes. Do those fit together nicely all the time? No. We're going to explore that one as well. The next episode of Fildor and Anna Oppenheim's Eurovision Wars, looking at the second half of Malmo and many of the situations that arose there. That's currently in post-production, so we should have that with you in the next week and a half. www.escinsight.com. I suspect there are also other podcasts available out there. Discreet cough, Sam. Discreet.
Yes, for those of you looking for another sort of fun panel show of 4 friends who are geeking out about Eurovision and generally dunking on each other, I welcome you to listen to my other podcast, 12 Points from America. You can find it on all your standard podcasteries and the standard and substandard social media outlets, 12 Points from America.com. We'd love to have you, but we are very honored to be part, like I say, and joke with you of the ESC Insight extended universe.
Great. I mean, what does that make me? I need to think Fury. Of a... Really? Really? I'm thinking more Nicholas Lyndhurst than Nicholas Fury, but there we go. Thank you as always for joining me on the Transatlantic Podcast microphone. It's a very, very long cable. Samantha Ross.
Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. It's always so much fun. Can't wait for Basel.
Thank you all out there for listening. Your time is precious. That you choose to spend it with ESC Insight is very much welcome and very much appreciated. To all our friends out there who we know and who are still to meet, you know the drill. Stay safe, be kind. I'll say ta-ra for now.
And let's hear some guitars.
This week's ESC Insight News panel podcast. We don't know what the name is yet, but it was with me, Ewan, and Sam. www.escinsight.com, patreon.com/ESC Insight. We'll get a name worked out maybe next week. Who knows?